Next up, let's take a look at the Point Manager menu. We will go to Create and Point Manager. The Point Manager menu is used to edit, create, or delete points. To do that, we need to first select the correct bottom left menu. This video will focus only on this first option, which is the point editing menu. The next video will go over line offsets, radius offsets, and finding a center point between two lines. This video will go over how to edit a point, how to edit multiple points, delete points, create a new point anywhere, and how to create a point filter. When entering the Point Manager menu, the first thing to do is to hit your clear button at the bottom left. This is the circle with the cross through it. The reason we do this is to make sure we're not editing any points that we don't mean to edit. For example, on screen right now, if you look at the bottom right, you will see the trash can where it says 17 points below it. That means currently I have 17 points selected. You can also tell that they are selected because of the light blue circle around the points. Notice every single point on screen is circled. Let's hit the clear button at the bottom left. Now it will ask us, do you want to clear all of your points? And we're going to hit yes. It will not delete any of your points. It will simply get rid of the currently selected points. I will hit yes. First, let's go over how to edit a point. We will first need to select the point or points we want to edit. Let's select point 121. Once I select it, it is circled in that temporary blue circle. Now I can open up my Input Form button at the bottom menu. Here you can see everything that is able to be edited by the user. You can edit the X, Y, and Z dimensions, Z being your elevations. You can make it a control point, and let's do that now so you can see what control points look like. You can also change the name, description, and layer. However, just note that if you change the name, it will create a brand new point. We'll look at that later. Currently, we're editing point 121. Let's change the description to hanger. And to keep things simple, let's also change the layer to hanger. All of these attributes and attribute values that you see are able to be pulled over from AutoCAD or Revit. We are also able to edit those within FieldLink by clicking and typing. Once I'm done with any edits that I'd like to make, let's hit Apply. Now my point 121, if we open up our Info button at the bottom right and click it, we can see that the description says hanger and also the layers says hanger. So these points have been successfully edited. We can also see from the triangle that exists on top of point 121 that the point has been made into a control point. FieldLink doesn't treat this any differently from another point. It's simply so you can actually see what is control and what is not control. Next, let's look at editing multiple points. Starting the same as before, we first need to select the point or points we want to edit. We can do that by individually clicking multiple points, or we can use the selection buttons at the left-hand side. Let's first clear out the points I just selected. Now we can use either the Current View button, which will select everything that I can currently see on my screen. For example, if I zoom in and click the Current View button, only these points that I can see are selected. The ones outside of the field of view when I clicked that button are not selected. The other method is to use the Window Selection tool. If I highlight this tool yellow, I can click and drag my mouse or finger over a set number of points and select those points. Notice that it added them to the points I did have selected already. Now, if we look next to the trash can, we will edit 11 points. Let's go ahead into our input form and edit those points. Let's change the elevation to all of them to 2 feet. These were designed at 0 feet. Therefore, whenever we hit Apply Edits at the bottom, we'll see them all jump up to a new elevation. Make sure you hit Apply Edits to save all of your changes. Let's look at deleting points. Again, we want to make sure that before we delete points, we only have selected what we would like to select. So I'm going to hit my clear button at the bottom left again. When in doubt, clear it out. Now we need to select the points we would like to delete. Let's delete the points over at the bottom left. I can use my window selection tool and select those points. Now, before I hit the trash can, I'm going to look below and ensure that the correct number of points are selected. I have 2 points selected, and that's all I see below the trash can, so I am good to hit the delete button. Let's look at what happens if we delete a point that has line work attached to it. I'm going to select point 100 down here and hit the trash can. Notice that it deletes any line work that was attached to that point. I can hit the undo button, but it will not bring back any of the line work that was deleted. This will not delete any line work from the CAD file that you may have imported, but it will delete the custom lines that you've drawn within FieldLink. Next up, let's show you how to create a point anywhere. We can use the tool at the bottom, mid-left of the screen, that looks like a finger touching a point. If I highlight this yellow, anywhere I touch on the screen will create a temporary blue point. I do have to hit Create to make that point, but I can make it anywhere. For example, if we're on a PDF with messy line work and we can't make one of our from model snaps work, we could just zoom in very tightly, and you'll notice our scale bar at the bottom. This whole yellow bar is less than a 1/16 of an inch, so we are very tight in here. If I have my yellow icon selected, I could make a point very close to this other one. I can't touch it because then it will actually create a point over top. But I could use my line work, my intersections, and get it as close as possible so that I could make a point anywhere. Finally, let's create a new point from an existing point. Let's select point 106. Point 106, if we look at our info button, is a 0-foot elevation. Let's say I want to create a point at 10-foot elevation directly over top of point 106. Let's go down to our Input Form button to edit point 106. Here you can see that I'm editing this point. Its name is 106 and its elevation is at 0. Let's change that elevation to 10. Now, notice while the name is still 106, at the bottom of your screen it says Apply Edits. As soon as I change the name on my editing screen, let's name it 201. The bottom button changes from Apply Edits to Create. That's because now we're creating an entirely new point and we're not editing it. If we get out of our Input Form button, you'll be able to see it very clearly. Let's put on our orbit view, and you can see that temporary blue point. It hasn't been created yet, but it is directly over top of point 106. Let's hit Create. And that's how you can create a new point from an existing point. Finally, let's jump into a slightly more complicated project so we can look at point filters. Point filters can be found at the bottom right-hand corner with our Point Filter button. Here, we can add filters with our plus button. We can sort through points by their name, description, layer, design points only, and control points only. Design points only will take away any layout data, while control points only will show points that you have designated as control points that appear with a triangle inside. Let's use Name Contains. Here, I know that I have a bunch of hangers that are for fire protection. I've named these points F, P, H for fire protection. Let's add those points to our filter. Now we can close, and I have a list of all of the points that start with FPH. I could delete a point from this filter if I'd like to, or I could add additional points. I can also click my arrow to expand the information available for each point. I can expand each point individually as well. And if I have additional information like layout data, it will also appear here. We can get northings, eastings, elevations, our layers, and any attributes that have been added to the point. We can start over and create a new point filter by clicking our Clear button. Join us in part 2 to learn more about Point Manager.